Hey, Strong Girls. I'm Molly Herford, sports journalist, ultra runner, cyclist, and author, and founder of Strong Girl Publishing.
And I'm Dr. Sasha Golish, Executive Director of Yellow Running Shoes, a researcher, engineer, elite runner, and your BFF who's breaking down the science of smashing barriers in women's sports.
Think of us as the intersection of science and culture for women and girls in sport. Each week, we'll dissect the latest headlines and cutting-edge research on female athletes.
Debunk myths about girls in sport. Talk about how hormones affect performance at every age, to the latest research in sports science around mental performance, nutrition, equipment, and so much more.
And we'll spotlight badass girls and women who are rewriting the rules of the game, sometimes literally.
Expect it to be nerdy.
And occasionally TMI.
But it will always be honest.
Whether you're a strong girl yourself or you're raising one, this show is for you. Welcome to Strong Girl Talk,
where sports science meets sisterhood.
Hello, everyone. Strong Girl Talk here. I'm Molly Herford, joined by my amazing co-host, Dr. Sasha Golish. Sasha, I'm not even going to ask you how you're doing today because I know it's medium at best, but we're going to say you're on the mend. It's all uphill from here. I promise. Things are going to be good. We have a fantastic interview for everyone today. I just got to announce that Marley Blonsky has joined the Strong Girl Publishing family as our next author with the Ragtag Best Friends Bicycle Adventure Club book. I'm beyond excited about that. My good friend Pip Claffey is joining us as the illustrator for that. Pip's work is incredible. I cannot say enough good things. We'll include a link in the show notes if anyone wants to get signed up to find out about when the pre-order opens. That's going to be sometime in the fall. But yeah, just really thrilled to bring the All Bodies on Bikes co-founder into the Strong Girl Publishing crew. And yeah, we have a lot to talk about today.
Wait, I just need to talk, Molly, your passion for this and lifting up other women, oh my gosh. I mean, there are many reasons why I love you, but this is the number one. Just watching your face light up right now. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Thank you. I said it when we had that podcast with Ali Tetrick and Amy Charity. This is the stuff that happens when women actually support other women. And I know that's something that, you are equally passionate about, which is why we are friends. And I mean, that's, even today when we talk about, we have Hannah Silva-Breen on the episode. She's working at Scotty Sports Psychology. I know, the founder of Scotty Sports Psychology, Erin Ayala, has been on the Consummate Athlete podcast. She and I connected for that. And what she's doing there is bringing more women into her practice, and, emailed me to say hey, you should have Hannah on the podcast to, talk about what she's up to. So, I love when there's no gatekeeping with women and promoting each other and getting each other out there. I think it's the whole rising tide really does truly lift all boats here. So something I am very excited about.
Oh my gosh, the future's so bright. Okay.
It is.
Okay, but we can go negative now. I want to go talk about some negative things happening in the world of sport.
I do, but okay, so first I'm going to do my one positive on my one positive piece of news for the week before we go negative. I did love the Angel City Football Club out of LA. Their last game, they made this piece of merch. You can actually get it on their website still, but they also have an amazing Pride collection, but for their last game, they handed out these t-shirts at the game that said Immigrant City Football Club. With everything that's going on in LA right now, to have the soccer team get behind that and, really show, LA is for everyone. It's for the immigrants. I was just in tears when I saw that this morning. And I think it just gets to the point of sports, and especially women's sports, it is political. There is sort of no way out of it. Obviously it's all stuff that we're passionate about, and hopefully that comes out. And I just think it's really cool to see these big teams taking these stands, even though they know they're going to get some blowback. Not everyone is going to love that, but the people that do love that are really going to freaking love that.
Well, and maybe it brings people who are not into sport into the sport conversation, right? And I think that's this is what's so powerful about sport is, I think we often talk about politics right now in such a negative way because it's been really challenging, but it's also a really positive space to talk about politics, to be you know what? Do you know what our shared love is? Our shared love is football, because we'll talk about soccer football, right? We have this share, and either from like playing or watching or we're fans, like it's just, I think it's such a more positive way to start a conversation, than anything. So I'll just like keep it in the positive lane for now.
Love that. Yes. And okay, you mentioned here Summer McIntosh now has the most
Oh
world
yeah,
records. Okay, that's a positive.
that's a
Talk about
positive.
that.
True. So Canadian national swim championships are happening. I think World Championships is happening later in the summer, so this is a qualifying for it. I believe Summer McIntosh has broken two world records at this event. And so previously, Michael Phelps was the swimmer. He's no longer swimming; he's a retired swimmer, who held the most world records. But it's now Summer McIntosh, and I don't know if you saw the video or the post of her and Penny Alexiak just like lifting each other up. Like quite literally, Penny Alexiak like literally lifts Summer McIntosh up just to like celebrate her success. Because it's, I think one of the, things that I loved about being a track athlete on a team is like it's team. And we talk about individual sports and we don't often talk about like the team aspect. And in an individual sport, like you really can become the best version of yourself, which Summer McIntosh, Penny Alexiak, and all these other swimmers are doing because they're like lifting each other up and celebrating each other's success.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, actually, let's
Now
go to
the
the let's go to the neutral first. I'm like, we're just gonna grade this. I think the tech that you did a post on the tech
yeah,
that Faith Kipyegon is going to use in the sub 4 minute mile attempt. There's a great piece from Alex Hutchinson. Nike themselves did a
yeah.
really extensive piece showing, everything that went into it. I've seen the sports bra, the bespoke sports bra has gotten a lot of play on Instagram. I kind of want one, to be honest. It's got like a really sweet like mesh racer back, and like it's very like it's literally like 3D printed, optimized for moisture management, TPU fabric. I mean, it seems like it's probably wicked uncomfortable, but probably wicked fast.
No, Faith says it's wicked comfortable. She says it might be the most comfortable bra that she's ever put on. Okay, can we just have a moment about sports bras? We talked about them last week. Who thought that it was a good idea? I said this last week to put like I'm touching my sports bra that I'm wearing with this like thick, uncomfortable elastic with the seam. And so maybe 3D printing is that. Um,
Ooh.
Dr. Brinna, I think her last name is Christmas. There's no T, but so she actually had a great post on Instagram. I'll put it in the show notes about sports bras, right? Like all of our breasts come in different shapes and sizes, and we all need very different sports bras. So, like the sports bra that's going to work for Faith Kipyegon may actually probably will work for both of us. Although I'm coming into like my breast zone since I've been like so inactive, which is just like new for me, generally speaking. But she said anything with like a clip, um, or like a regular bra strap, like that's going to cause irritation. And so, what I think is super cool is like we're actually having females on the ground in these bras, like giving feedback. And the other thing I want to celebrate about Nike is just like all of the amazing women that are involved in the process, right? Like Carrie Dimoff is involved with like the shoe design. The shoe design is outrageously from an engineering perspective, super cool. So it's got two carbon fiber plates, by the way. Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
glad that the bra doesn't have a carbon fiber plate because like that would be weird. But yeah, I had to say it. I did
That's
have to say it.
that's a bridge too far. Yeah, yeah.
It's a bridge too far.
Um, Also, side note, she's in a speed suit, right? Like it's
Yeah,
sleeveless, but it's like full, like not full leg, sorry, but like, a long bicycle short style here. Um,
half tights. I believe we call those half tights.
yeah, half tights. There we go. Just wanted to shout that out, given the atrocities committed to the women's track team with Nike's Team USA Olympic contributions last summer. Turns out the fastest thing is not a up your butt, half thong situation. So maybe we keep this in mind for 2028. Just putting it out there now, flagging that.
Well, and to your point about the aerodynamics of the suit, right? Like one of the interesting things about running is like we are I'm still participating. Like as a sport, it's still pretty antiquated, right? Like the shoes and the technology has taken off, but nothing else has. And if you like, I'm going to put my like computational fluid dynamics hat on for a second. I'm going to nerd out here as an engineer, right? Like boundary layer things. And one of the reasons that the speed suits were banned in swimming was because of the advantage that women got. Just, women typically, compared to male-bodied people, have more fat. And so the way that interacted with the water, there are for sure some similarities as it comes down to like running, and particularly running on a track and then running in a formation. So yeah, the speed suit is also, like, from a technology perspective, so cool.
Yes, and I imagine much more comfortable. This is also my like beef with running is like in cycling, we have bib shorts, we have skin suits. Like these are pretty normal. Like bib shorts are almost everyone in cycling now understands bib shorts are more comfortable than regular shorts. Running has no such equivalent. And to be honest, for my 100 miler, what I actually ended up doing, because I know I have gut issues if I have anything touching my stomach, let alone like compressing it. And you know that at my, hour 10, you're bloated. Like there's no way out of that. That's just is what it is. So I actually ended up buying, my shorts a size up so that I could run and know that I would have room. And that was, I think, the smartest decision I've made. But like bib shorts actually would kind of have solved that, especially now that we know how to do like the pull down fly, because then they can actually be a little more, you have a little more room in the stomach zone. So you don't have anything like pressing in compared to these like compression shorts. So I'll get off my soapbox now. I still need to make that soapbox. I'm totally gonna do it.
Like, I have a piece of soap here that I can just like,
Yeah.
here's your piece of soap.
My
Here's your box to
soapbox.
stand
Yeah.
on. Yeah,
Oh
there
my
you
God. I'm
go.
just gonna get like a Dove since we were just talking about Dove, and we will get into that in today's interview. I'm gonna get like, yeah, just a bar of like, yeah, Dove soap box and just hold it up anytime I'm getting onto my soapbox in these
Cross out
episodes.
Dove, Molly.
Yeah,
Molly's
exactly.
soapbox.
Exactly.
Okay, in the world of track, Grand Slam, I don't know if this is neutral to negative, but Grand Slam has canceled the end of the year. I mean, we've talked about the, like, small audience. One of the challenges I really faced was like, how do you watch it when you're not in your home country? I actually don't, and other people have said this, so like, this isn't a Sasha thing. I don't know that the challenger part was all that exciting. I think it makes sense in middle distance, and I think it would have been actually really cool to see, like, the eight, like, race the 800, race the 3000, come together in the 15, and like maybe it's a little more challenging to do in the sprint events where you have to have lanes, but I think there's a way to do it. But I think without the field, I watched a lot of Diamond League as I was sick this weekend, just like lying on the couch again. The field really plays such an important role, and I think we do a discredit to field generally. I think we do a discredit to women's field in particular, but there's so many great stories to tell in field when there's a break in the track. And I put this on the Yellow Running Shoes Substack this morning. You don't want to attract the track and field fan. They're coming, right? Like, they are coming to the meet they're going to watch. Like, I will be there. I'm a track and field nerd, sorry. But you want to figure out, how do you get the people that are not running, not throwing things, jumping? How do you get them to lean in? And there are so many sports out there that have done a great job at that. I think cycling in particular, like, I look at those Belgium cyclocross races, I promise you, those crowds and what I see, most of them don't ride bikes, but oh
No.
my gosh, are they the greatest fans?
No, yeah, it's incredible when you're at a Belgian cyclocross race. Like there's nothing, it's like NASCAR. It's so cool.
Right.
Um, we'll get into why we're annoyed with the UCI, but
Yeah.
you know, they've definitely got it figured out for that for sure. So I think I'm completely with you. Field also opens up a lot more body diversity. It opens up a lot more
Yes.
stories from that angle. Like, there's so many more personalities that come out. Like it's just so cool.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm going to put this news in the negative category because I actually have a major problem with organizations like this that do just shut down their season one race early or two races early. They just like call it because it's like not going the way they planned. I think when you do that, you are pretty much setting yourself up to say like this isn't coming back. We
Okay.
saw it in cycling with the NCL. We've seen it in cycling
Right.
so many times.
Yeah.
I think if you can't complete the season, and I know like it would, yeah, you'd probably lose some money. for sure. I think you're going to lose some money canceling it too. And
Yep.
I think you're just saying it's not coming back. This didn't work. Whether you actively say that or not, like they said LA Slam was postponed until 2026. And I put that in quotation marks because I think everyone is saying, sure, it is. Um, I think you have to push through. These things take time to build. You're
Yep.
gonna learn, you're gonna learn some hard lessons. You're gonna figure out what didn't work. You're gonna figure out what did work, and you can come back better next year. But when you cut a season short, you are basically saying, this didn't work, we're scrapping it. And I think that is a very bad message to send because even for other, like for sponsors next year, for other organizations trying to do anything like this, you're saying this didn't work.
Okay, so just quick reflection. I think more importantly, maybe it also said to them that the athletes don't matter, right? Because this was supposed to be about the athletes.
Yeah, what about the athletes that spent their whole, like, planned their entire season
Yeah.
around these races,
Yeah.
right? Like, had, bonus structures in place for them,
Yes.
had like other things around them, right? Like, LA is not a vacuum. You go to LA for the slam, but you probably had meetings with other people. You
Yep.
had other stuff that you signed on to do, possibly some other meets, maybe some like meet and greet type things. Like, you planned your season for these. They set
Yep.
it up so you had a season to plan around these things, and you've just pulled the rug out from under athletes, less than 3 weeks to go. So that I find, yeah, very offensive. To me, that says, yeah, the athletes don't matter in this. We're letting the employees go. We're done. So yeah, don't love that.
Okay. So then this actually ties in so well to the UCI challenge, right? Athlete forward. So the UCI, I don't know exactly when, and I actually haven't read the UCI release, just to be quite honest, but there is a limit to a minimum width. Sorry, let me say that correctly. There's a minimum width to handlebar width coming in January 2026. And the reason that they're doing this is around safety and tucking, which, okay, I have, like, I can, there have been some pretty serious accidents. Like, let's just be like quite open about that. But what they didn't do was consider the difference between male bodies and female bodies and only took this from a male lens. And so the minimum is 40 centimeters, 400 millimeters. And Feisty Media has done an incredible job about talking about like some of the challenges with, particularly for smaller cyclists, where there's going to be, it's hard on their wrists or it's hard on their shoulders or it's like hard on their, upper body. How does that change like the whole interaction of your bike? And so, I don't know if you've seen people are like, are they going to flip flop and are they going to make a sub announcement? And I hope they do. Like, I just like positively thinking, like, I hope they do and think about it like this isn't a one size fits all.
Literally, not a one size fits all.
Yes.
And like it's fine to have those standards, but you have to consider the standards for men and for women. Like, yeah, this is I recognize that cyclists are not known for their beefy upper bodies, even on the men's side of things, but like, come on. This is some basic anatomy here. And yeah, to not think about that at all, to not have that in the discussion originally, like, yes, I hope they amend it. And like, I do feel like the UCI is often open to stuff like that. Like, fine. And I might be speaking out of turn, but I hope they think about this and change it. But I think clearly it shows that it is still just men running the show and very little consultation with women on stuff like this. Because I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure had enough women been consulted on it, someone would have flagged, hey, this is going to be a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So,
anyways.
yes, completely, completely agree. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap up there because I am really excited to get into today's episode. Again, we have Hannah Silva-Breen on. Hannah is a provider at Scotty Sports Psych. Like I mentioned, she's worked with the Tucker Center for Girls and Women in Sport, and she has so much knowledge both as a researcher and as a practitioner and as a coach. So, basically as very similar to what Sasha does. So it is an incredible conversation where we're really talking about all things, body image, body confidence, and, how that relates to someone out there that is doing the work coaching, whether you're a volunteer, whether you're a paid coach, but also how, we as women can think about it for ourselves, for the younger girls that we interact with on a daily basis. And yes, we will include links to everything we talk about in that episode in the show notes.
And I have to put a plug in on the topic of body image and body confidence. As part of the lab that I work in at the University of Toronto, the Mental Health and Physical Activities Research Center, we also have a course. So body confident is very much directed at like young girls and some gender diverse individuals. Um, but the course that we have developed is also centered around boys. And so we're really looking for some feedback. So I will also put that in the show notes.
Fantastic. All right, with that, let's get into this episode with Hannah Silva-Breen. All right, Hannah Silva-Breen, welcome to Strong Girl Talk. I'm so excited that Sasha and I get to chat with you about all of the things.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've done so many things. We connected because of our mutual friend, Erin, over at Scotty Sports Psychology, where you are now working with individuals doing some group stuff, but you've been there for a while. But give us sort of like the elevator pitch rundown of kind of where you've been in the space because you've done so much really cool stuff.
Yeah, so I started at the Tucker Center for Research on Girls and Women in Sport. I was their gender equity summer intern for a couple summers. Loved it a lot and wanted to do more, wanted to learn more. So got my master's in kinesiology with an emphasis in sports psych at the University of Minnesota under Dr. Lavoie at the Tucker Center. And while I was there, I was really lucky to be a part of that team alongside the Center for Appearance Research that developed and built Body Confidence Sport, as well as Coaching Her, which are both free, live, online educational tools to help build the confidence of coaches as well as athletes, both for coaching girls as well as just body confidence. So that was where my love for research and helping people in general really started. I also did some work at the Emily program in St. Paul, specifically with the adolescents and adults in residential treatment for eating disorders. And that also kind of sparked that niche interest in me and helping people in that way. So that's after I got my master's, then went to West Virginia University, where I'm finishing up my PhD in sports psychology and my master's in clinical mental health counseling. So I'd
Cool.
say that was a long elevator. We got to the 30th floor on that one,
I
but
love it. I love it. And okay, we also have to go back down to the first floor for a
yeah.
second and dig into your relationship with sport, like growing up and where you are now. Because I think, you know, anytime someone's in sports psych and obviously has been in this field for quite a while, you obviously have a journey with sport that we have to kind of explain as well.
Right, of course. So I'd say I started playing sport really as young as I can remember. I was just playing kind of what I could in rec leagues in town. I played a lot of them. I was only sort of good at basketball, so I stuck with that one. Um, and I played through high school, but I tore my ACL the summer going into my senior year of high school. That prompted a lot of mental health issues for me. And I saw it as a problem. I was supported. I was able to get help, but I didn't really see like the support that I wanted within the sport space specifically. I was lucky to have my AAU coach, Dre Jefferson, shout out to him. He kept me in the sport, kept me coaching. I've been coaching with him now for 12, 13 years, something like that. So obviously I've been enjoying coaching since I tore my ACL. But I really wanted to learn more about the psychology within sport specifically, not just kind of mental health outside of it. So that really prompted that interest. I played 1 year at Gustavus Adolphus College in my undergrad. But some injuries, as well as just different priorities, I decided to kind of refocus and just focus on coaching and school. So I didn't play my all 4 years. So that's where my kind of competitive sport career ended as far as playing. As I said, I'm still coaching and I'm trying to get back into the running aspect. I've ran one half marathon. I'd like to maybe one day do one again, but we'll see. We'll see. Grad school's hard. So I'm trying to get back into it.
Understatement of the century there. Grad school's hard. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm shocked Erin hasn't gotten you out on the bike yet, though. I feel like that's probably coming.
I don't have one. So
That's the reason. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe one day, never say never.
Yeah, I was like, you don't have one yet. Um,
Yeah.
and okay, before I get into the list of questions that we have, you mentioned working, and maybe I got it wrong, Center for Appearance Research. Is that right?
So I didn't work at the Center for Appearance Research. We were within the Tucker Center. We were partnered with them.
Okay.
Yes.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to flag that name because I think that, I mean, that really goes into a lot of your work, and I think it's
Yeah.
so interesting. Appearance research, right? Like at first blush, when I hear that, I'm like, oh, psh. Or like I imagine most people are like, oh, psh. But talk about how that is such an important part of talking about girls in sport, which I think leads into everything else we're talking about.
Yes, I mean, especially at CAR, they don't just do like body image in what we tend to think about it. They do a lot with like breast cancer survivors, visible differences, and how that can impact people and how people interact with everyone. So they do a wide-reaching breadth of research. And what we got to do with them with Body Confident Sport is utilize that expertise and more kind of holistic understanding that they know about body image. And we came in more with the sport side and what we know about coaches, athletes, how sport and sports systems, especially in the United States, work. But through our partnership, we were also able to talk to teams globally and learn more about their sport systems and what works well, what doesn't, what girls actually want to learn about if they had this chance to have a body image workshop, what coaches see, what they can, what they want in their sessions if they're to lead them. It's one thing to say, hey, 10 sessions of like 3 hours at a time would really work well and improve body image, right? But then that's not feasible. So it was a great partnership and we really merged our two expertise really, really well. I still am even though I'm not in the Tucker Center anymore, I'm still in contact with both teams very frequently. I'm currently working on a weight bias study with Dr. Kat Schneider from CAR. So they're incredible, very great partnership. I mean, it was a dream to work with them.
So interesting. So I work in a lab that has a lot of focus on body image, and we often talk about, Hannah, coaches don't like that word, right? I'm sure you heard that. And so, you know, to your point about the Center for Appearance Research and thinking about it holistically, like I just love this idea of like, okay, we can use different words, right? And thinking about it holistically and just how important that is. So I did, Molly, I don't know about you, but have you completed Body Confident?
No, but funny enough, Peter has. Peter's my husband. He's a cycling coach, so he went through it. Yeah, I need to.
Oh,
Amazing.
I'm just going to celebrate it, right? Like what an incredible resource, right? Hopefully it's okay to say this. Like major thanks to like Dove and Nike for
Yeah.
not just their funding, but their amplification of it, right? To create this free, right? Like, can
Right.
we put it in like big, like sparkly, bold letters? Like this, it's a free resource. And it's incredible. Just,
Mhm. Yeah, and that was the gap was like we one couldn't find much evidence-based resources out there for specifically adolescent girls. especially within sport, let alone adolescent girls in general. And so we really wanted to fill that gap, and knowing, like you said, like with coaches, one, it can be a stigmatizing topic already. So there's already that barrier. And then if we put a financial barrier in front of it, who's really going to use it? Maybe the people that already are a little knowledgeable and excited about the topic, but maybe not so much people who are on the fence if you have it behind a paywall. So yes, absolutely incredible that Nike and Dove were able to support the project and make it accessible to literally everybody.
Love it. Love it. Okay. And then I want to kind of back out to this more general question that I've been thinking about since I've been thinking about, you come from this research space, you come from, looking at how to make programs for coaches, for kind of like a large like body of like adolescent girls as a whole. And now you are doing some one-on-one work. So how do you think about the two? Because I imagine it's such a different way of looking at things, going from kind of like this large big data type research to here's the person I'm talking to. And both are like, don't get me wrong, both are equally very important and valid. But it is like different thought processes.
Right. And I think the main difference is using their like the individual's unique experiences as kind of a catalyst for change. Whereas we know, for example, with body confidence sport, globally informed, many girls have also shared their insights into it. We know it works, and there's always going to be individual differences. And that's why, it might work really well for somebody or less well for somebody else. So I really get to then kind of shift my perspective on what is this individual difference here and how can we leverage it and maybe shift different strategies to fit this person that's sitting in front of me rather than just here's the message. I hope it sticks for some people. And getting to be alongside their journey for more than 1, 2, 3 hours at a time is really it's really empowering for them, and for me to see. It's very fulfilling. And when there are road bumps, I get to actually be there to help support them and have them get over the road bump and know that they can get through it, versus maybe now they're on their own after they've experienced this workshop. They might have some tools, but they might not have that individual person like me if they're not seeing a therapist or sports psych or anything like that.
Okay. I got so how I like I've been so excited to ask you this question.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of work and get to interact with a lot of like young female athletes. And like it's really cool to see the rise, particularly in running and like prepubescent girls. But there's also this like still this fixation on this like perfectionism and like almost controlling what happens through puberty. And I guess my question to you is like, how do we start to address this in this like neutral to positive, proactive way, right? Like from some of the individual work that you've done and also from the Nike body confidence stuff, like what advice do you have to me as a coach with these like fabulous young women that I want to keep in sport?
Oh gosh. How much time do we have?
You take as much time as you need. We're here for you.
I would say one, that's a really great question and a really important question. And two, it needs to, especially knowing this, not just sport that we're in, but society that we're in and the impact of social media, is talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about these topics with your athletes, and at the same time know your lane and know your boundaries, right? Like I'm a coach too, and I'm a counselor, but I'm not my athlete's counselor. So I also have to navigate those lines of, am I trying to kind of treat you right now, or am I just being your support and maybe offering a shift in perspective? I think is very different. So using our language and how we talk about bodies, food, performance, in that more neutral way, like you said, in advocating for body diversity in sport when we can. I know I've been around many coaches, tournaments in basketball specifically, but I also know this happens in many other sports, is I'll hear coaches talk about athletes and they might say, well, yeah, she's pretty good, but she needs to lose some weight first. Right, right. It's like, so she's pretty good. What's going to be the difference? Is the difference what you're hoping for, that she gets faster, stronger, fill in the blank? Well, if that's the concern, let's focus on that, because if we're only focusing on what an athlete looks like, we're actually going to never help them reach their potential. Because if we are only focusing on, hey, you need to lose weight, they're probably not going to be getting faster, stronger the way that we want. We also know that diets don't typically work. So now it's fulfilling this negative, like stereotypical cycle of, hey, I think this athlete needs to lose weight. They're not doing it the way that I want. So now they're not performing the way that I want. So now I continue to believe that athletes of particular body shapes aren't quote unquote good enough, when that is not the case. And it's this, our own biases projecting onto these athletes. So as a very specific example, but if I were to come back, it's, if we want athletes to perform better, let's focus on the actual behaviors that impact performance. And behaviors that impact performance include rest, fueling, having a life outside of sport as well. I know, shocking, crazy. I I try and normalize eating food as much as I can. So being a role model, I ask athletes after practice, like, make sure you go get something to eat, or what are you going to eat after this? Or did you bring a snack? When we're on trips or on tournaments, I'm eating basically the same stuff they're eating to normalize that as well. If I hear athletes talking about their bodies, I try and interject, again, not in a I'm going to lecture you and try and treat you kind of way, but more so a team norm type of way of, hey, we don't talk about people's bodies like that, period. Or I'd appreciate it if we focused on something else. Or just redirecting and kind of denormalizing, if that's a word, talking about diets, bodies in this kind of stigmatizing and downward comparison kind of way.
I love that. It's funny. I remember being on a couple of the first camps I coached for cycling and having like juniors on that. And I remember like a couple of the junior women being like, wow, you really eat a lot. And I was like, yeah, I really do. And then,
Right.
you know what? By the end of the camp, so were they. And it was
Mhm.
great. And they, as it turns out, you get faster when you fuel. Who would have thunk it?
And less likely to be injured, and
Yeah.
more likely to recover faster when you have had a hard workout or tournament or anything. Yeah, crazy how that
Yeah,
happens.
absolutely wild. And I think if you talk to coaches who are super high, like the super high level ones, like they understand these concepts to a degree. There's still like some, we'll say, bad players out there. But I remember, talking to Dean Golich, who's one of like the top Olympic cycling coaches from the last like 30 years. And he was saying, whenever someone asks him about power to weight, he says, well, how can we get the power up? And like that's his question is like forget
Mhm.
about the weight metric. How do we raise the power? And
Mhm.
the weight's gonna do what it's gonna do.
Mhm.
Um, but I think the problem comes from there's a lot of coaches who are mid-level beginner volunteer. I'm gonna, also point out like that, you know, get kind of fed this misinformation. Maybe they got it themselves when they
Mhm.
were in high school and now they're out there, coaching youth basketball. And I'm always so sensitive to this because they have no training in nutrition. They have no training. They have no training in basketball. Like for, to use the basketball example, they have no
Yeah.
training in that, right? They're literally just like the dad or like the teacher who's doing this as like the extra thing. So what I thought was interesting when I was looking at your page on the Scotty website is
Mhm.
you actually talk a lot about coaching. And I mean, you yourself, obviously, you coach, you came from sport and went into coaching.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to talk about, kind of like how a coach, especially one who isn't getting paid for this, isn't, doesn't have this kind of training, how they can think about this stuff in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming because, I can see a coach listening to this and being like, oh God, I just don't even know what to do anymore. I'm out. And we don't want them to be out. We just want
Right.
them to be better informed and more helpful.
Right, exactly. And those volunteer coaches are the foundation of literally like all sports in at least America, I know for sure. So it's like we want these volunteer coaches and we know their hearts are, 9 times out of 10 in a really good place. They want to help, they want to be that person. And sometimes, yeah, they might either be misinformed or don't know and they're doing their best. So that's kind of where I would start is like you are trying your best. You don't have malice, you're not like trying, you don't have ill intent. And we need to build some awareness of recognizing even when we're not trying to cause harm, we still can. And I was that coach. I was an exercise physiology major in undergrad. I took a nutrition class. You know what we've mainly focused on? How to help people lose weight. And you know what wasn't talked about, which was the like 90+% fail rate of diets and things like that. But that's a whole other side topic. So anyway, I was misinformed as well, or at least I knew the basics, but it was twisted in a way of we're talking about nutrition just to get people to lose weight. And so I had to really broaden who I was listening to, what I was reading, and not solely just elite skinny athletes. Like we need to talk to, listen, read books from people from all different types of sport, with different lived experiences, professional experiences, educational experiences, and really, I'd say, without trying to be overwhelming, my question to many coaches would be, if you're not sure, let's not. Right? Like if I'm not sure if this comment about somebody's food is going to be taken well or not, let's not. Right? And sure, there can be some maybe harm that can happen from not acting, and we're causing significantly more harm when we are saying these little comments over and um, over time. So that's where I start. Like awareness, let's listen, keep our eyes open, ears open when we can, because we're busy, we're volunteers, we're not getting paid much, and err on the side of caution, especially when we're talking about food, weight, and like body shape, size. Stick
I
with
mean,
what you know, which is basketball.
I
And
mean, I have to jump
let's
in and also say, but hey, if you've got some extra time on your hands, you should really take the body confident or even
right,
just check out the website, right?
right. And
Um,
yeah,
e-
and that was sorry, go ahead.
I was just like, even scrolling it, like there's a wealth of information and information that you can use. Okay, now I'll give it back to you, Hannah.
Oh no, I was gonna say like the exact same thing of that was part of the motivation for body confidence sport is like it's not hours and hours long. It's not a full day training. It's one, you can start and pick up where you left off whenever you want, and it's not gonna take you all day. And it's gonna leave you with just nuggets of information that you can remember and take with you versus, pages and pages and pages of notes. Because again, thinking about staying in our lane, we're not trying to teach you to treat body image issues. It's just how can we improve our awareness and adjust our language and how we talk to and with our athletes.
Hmm. Yeah. And okay, speaking of language, I do want to just like unpack body confident coaching versus like body positive, body neutral, body negative. Like how do we look at those phrases? Like why is body confident the one we're working with here?
Great question. So the first thing that kind of pops up is like body positivity. Depending on who you ask, people don't really like that term, right? Sasha shaking her head, absolutely not, right? Um, and it again came from a well-intentioned place, but has kind of really been twisted of like it's body positive if you still fit this narrow margin, right? Like you can be confident and we can be positive about curves if you still fit, like you can get your clothes off the rack. Otherwise, we're promoting quote unquote unhealthy behaviors and all of these things. And at the same time, body positivity was really rooted also in like this white cisgender female body norms. So already it's like we're comparing to like every culture to this one culture. So it's like a little bit of white supremacy in there, maybe a little, right?
Just like
So
a
so
titch, just like a
body,
teensy bit just kind of mixed in there.
right. And so body confidence and why we really wanted to like use that phrase too was because it helps tap into the global aspect that we were looking at of not just in America, but in Mexico, Japan, all over the world. What does body confidence look like and feel like for you within sport? And confidence isn't always stable too, and we recognize that. And it's like some days are going to be better than others, but you can always kind of come back on track and normalizing like some days are going to be hard because that's the society we live in, especially within sport. And we can learn some tools to build our resiliency basically against what we see and experience.
I like it, and it also occurs to me that confident is also like a thing that we can kind of better understand how to be and like what to do with it. Whereas like positive or neutral don't really necessarily have like action items with them.
Right.
Um, they're just kind of like ways of I don't even know what exactly they are. They're just like temperature levels. Whereas
Right.
confident, we're like, okay, we know what to do with that. We see how that's actually like effective.
Right. And how I usually frame confidence, even outside of body image, but just confidence in general with my athletes is like confidence is an action and a response. Confidence is not like a stable, static state of mind. And I push hard against that. There are some people in sports psychology that would disagree with me. That's okay, that's fine. But I've also seen this shift of wait, if I'm not confident all the time, am I a failure? To I can be confident most of the time, and I know days that I'm not, that it'll end and that feeling will pass, and I'm not a failure because I feel bad or feel low someday. And that fear of failure that many athletes learn in sport of making mistakes like on the court, on the field, on the track, often gets translated into feel of fear of failure even in their mindset and how they're looking at sport. So feeling like they should be, disciplined, love their sport all the time, feel confident all the time. And if I'm not living up to that, then I'm a failure. And so now I'm then judging myself on top of it of like, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing it right. Whereas let's kind of strip that away and recognize we're human beings at the, at the core of it. And a human experience is a roller coaster, and how can we navigate the roller coaster instead of trying to stay static up here all the time?
Okay. Like you've literally just, I'm sure you've looked at this in the research too. It's this toxic positivity thing, right? And that relationship between like body positivity and body
Mhm.
neutrality often gets wrapped up in this like I'm supposed to have this like linear progression, and I'm supposed to like have this like linear way of about how I feel about my body. So I had to talk about toxic positivity in this conversation.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I would say that's another reason why we are seeing a shift away from like body positivity, because of that kind of also underlying message of we have to be positive all the time. And it's blanking hard to be positive all the time, right? Like we can't. We
The
simply
word
can't.
you were actually
If
looking for was
somebody is
unrealistic. The word you were looking for is unrealistic, right?
right,
That was the word you were looking for.
right. Yes. Yeah, that was exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Well, and also, frankly, wouldn't even make sense from an athletic context, right? Like, if we're positive all the time, we're not really gonna, catch on to when we are, in fact, making mistakes and,
Right.
do in fact need to work on something to get better at it. If we're just like, yeah, that was a great attempt, like, no notes. Um,
Right. And going back to coaches and coaching, like I've made so many mistakes coaching, let alone being an athlete, not just on the court, but how I talk to my athletes. Like I said, when I first started coaching, I was in that ex-phys major, learning about nutrition. I said things that I would never say to an athlete now. But if we don't recognize that, we can't learn from it. And it's also trying to take away shame of making mistakes, especially in coaching, because I feel like coaches is one profession among many, but especially coaching is like you are expected to not make mistakes, or at least not look like you're making mistakes. Because then your athletes will lose confidence in you. If you're coaching youth, parents will lose confidence in you, right? Like it's your way or the highway. You have to be confident all the time. It's like, no, coaches are also people too. And if we shame them for making mistakes, it's just going to reinforce this fear of failure and not owning up to mistakes and not trying to repair damage that we might make. So yeah, toxic positivity in and out of sport. No, no, no. Stay away.
So, okay. So I'm going to put my coaching hat on for a second. So I'm like kind of career transition. So not only do I have this horrible cold, I'm 3 months post surgery. And so I'm, and I'm also a reflective and aware person, but I'm conscious of like, I have moments where like I don't have body confidence, right? Like my body's changing. I'm also going through perimenopause. Let's just put all the things on the table, right? But I want to ensure that I'm again not positive like toxic positivity, but body confident. And so to your point about making mistakes, like I think one of the challenges that we've seen historically, and I'd say particularly in like the lean sports, is particularly for women who grew up with this like forced leanness, right? And so we continue to role model, can I say it, poor behavior. So, what are some of the best things that I can do as a coach and like just be aware of in terms of my language when I'm talking to athletes?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good question. And what we've also seen in some research is you don't have to have amazing body image to be able to help other people with theirs, such as our athletes. So it's okay. So it's like you're not failing. We're doing our best and it's okay. And I think, especially within our coaching hat and our coaching lane, right? How we talk to athletes should be different than how we talk to friends. So I was giving a talk, this was a couple of years ago actually, about body talk to coaches at the Women Coaches Symposium, plug again for the Tucker Center. And basically, if I were to really sum it down, was let's not talk about bodies, period. And if we see it, let's redirect or challenge it. And I had a comment from a coach basically saying, so if I have been working out a lot and my body has changed in a way that I'm really proud of, I can't share that with anybody. And I said, let's pump the brakes. Actually, no, I didn't say that. I responded in a way that I wasn't really prepared for. But now sitting in this chair, what I would have said is let's pump the brakes. I'm not going to tell you how to talk with your friends in private in your own life. I could, but I'm going to focus on the coaching side, right? So when we're talking about to athletes, we don't need to talk about our bodies, their bodies in that way. Now, what I would say is if we're not, feeling very confident about our bodies, we're still going to role model taking care of ourselves for athletes. So even on days where it might feel hard, focusing on, I'm going to fuel myself and maybe show my athletes that I'm fueling myself so they see that it's normal. So that's kind of what I would focus on is at the bare minimum. Now, do I want you to say that to a friend still? No, but I'm focused on coaching, right? So at the bare minimum, we're going to avoid it. And if we hear it, we're going to call it out, either just, hey, we're not going to be talking about other people's bodies, our bodies in a negative way on this team. Or if you feel confident in it, educating on the harm that talking about bodies and body talk can have, which you can learn all about in body confidence sport.
Feel like if you haven't caught on already, going and doing that module there, very important, very important. Okay, before we let you go, the one question I did have was, you've done all of these cool research projects, you've been co-author on a lot of papers. Out of all of these, out of all of the research you've done, what was sort of like this is like a weird question, I guess, but like, what was like your favorite one to do? Like, what was your favorite, maybe not even from like the actual conclusion but more like which study was like the most fun to do?
Oh gosh. That's really hard to say. I think in general, all of the ones that I was with Carr and the Tucker team, like the ones where it's name. Now, some people, especially in research academia, they see that and they're like, oh, people, if you're a fifth author, you did nothing. But really, it was so collaborative. And I learned so much and just enjoyed, like, we had fun doing these projects. So I would say those Tucker team, Carr, Dream, Made in Heaven. Um, and I also really enjoyed my master's thesis that I got to lead. It was the first project I really led, which was developing the scale that we use to actually assess the effectiveness of body confidence sport, which is the name, the Coach Self-Efficacy Body Image Scale, CBIS for short. If I could go back, I'd maybe rename it, but that's what we're sticking with, and I'm proud of it. So yeah. So really, that was a way to say I can't pick one, but most of them.
You're rare, right? Like, but telling these stories as part of academia is so important, right? Like, Hannah, this working in academia, right? Like, some of those projects where you see all of those names, there are quite literal, like, fist fights over
Yes.
where names go. And, you know, as someone on the, external hearing about this project, I only heard wonderful things about the collaborative nature of this project. So that in itself, along with the amazing work, I just want to celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And it's really not common, sadly. Yeah, luckily I've been pretty lucky so far, knock on wood, that all my collaborations have been really positive and fun. And I also know people who've talked to me about really not fun, to put it lightly, collaborations, research projects. So yeah, it's really rare and just goes to show to I think also the quality of the product, because we were so invested and all working so hard to make it a reality. And even though, I wasn't lead on most of it, the fact that I was able to help in some way, whether it was help lead a focus group, maybe help run through our systematic review and go over titles and abstracts and things like that. Like, I'm so proud of that was my role, and I'm going to own it because I was part of it and it was so great.
I love it. Okay, before we wrap up, tell everyone where they can find you, follow along, work with you, all the things.
Yes. So you can find me at Hannah Silva-Breen on Instagram. I'd also plug at Scotty Sports Psychology. That's arguably where you'll see more updates, because Erin is much better at social media than I am. You can also find me on LinkedIn, but I'm most reachable through my email, hannah@scottysportspsychology.com.
Fantastic. Hannah, thank you so much for chatting with us today. This was so much fun.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Strong Girl Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely head over to wherever you listen to podcasts and rate, review, and of course, subscribe so you never miss another episode. And head over to stronggirlpublishing.com to check out all of the books by Strong Girl Publishing's authors, including Molly Herford, Misha Powell, and so many more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.